Papa D here, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About It. Sorry for a little bit of delay there. Had a little bit of technical issues on the front end, but we got it resolved here short order, and I just want to say thanks for coming out, and let me push a couple magic buttons, and we'll be able to bring in my cohort, my partner in crime, Angela, and Angela, I'm working on it. Just today is clearly one of those nights that the system is working against me, but we'll get it figured out here. There we go. But we'll try that. We'll try that. We'll do that. And with a little bit of magic, there we are.
Hey guys.
Ange, how we doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. A little bit tired, but got coffee and we're going to push through and it's going to be great.
Well, that's one thing I didn't get. I didn't get a chance to grab a cup of coffee, so that just means I'll get one afterwards and stay up a little bit later getting ready for the next show. That's all. But I want to welcome everybody again. And we've had another interesting week. A lot going on here in the world of politics. First, let's just lead off with a thanks, because we do want to thank everyone for coming in and spending time with us. We thank all of our subscribers. We've hit a milestone, and we've gotten well above 1,000 subscribers here already. So we appreciate you guys all coming out. We appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us and listening to us rant about all things Trump/Harris, and now with a waltz.
Yep.
Would that be correct? Ha ha ha.
Mm-hmm.
So we've finally got that all lined up now. We know who the ticket will be. For president, and we've got Kamala and Walz, who I know. I'll throw that off to Ann. She's got a little bit of news and booze and the booze and news and the details of this guy, but haven't read a whole lot of good so far. And what we have here is one of the most, if the most left-leaning progressive tickets that's ever ran for the office, and we'll talk about that in detail. But if you're not a subscriber, again, we'll get back to that. Thanks for subscribing. If you are a subscriber, thank you. If you're not subscribing, please subscribe, hit the button, hit the notify button, all that stuff. We'll go back over that. There will be a test at the end of the show, so please pay attention. Yes. There'll be a quiz. Pop quiz.
I took lots of notes.
Okay. Luckily, this is a test that you can use your notes. So it's open. It's an open book. So now everybody out there, I don't know. We'll see what the comments look like. We got to get people to start generating some questions and comments. So
yeah,
feel free to blast us with that. But Ange, I'm going to pass
real
off
quick
to you and let you start things out. I've been looking at the polls. I know you've done the numbers and run the numbers. And that'll give me a chance to do a little cleanup on my end for video. I've got the results from today when you are ready for me to show them. Again, this comes where I go to is Real Clear Politics. They do a great job. We thank them for all the work they do. We thank them for letting us use some of their data, and we appreciate that. But you take it off, and we'll roll it after we get through your intro.
Okay, so you want me to start off with the polls?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So in the wake of Harris picking Walz as her running mate on the ticket for the Democratic Party, we already anticipated that whoever she chose, since she's on this high of, look at me, I'm the new star, we knew there was going to be a bump. Okay. We're leaning into the Democratic National Convention next week. So there is going to be a surge of people. She's getting attention with the media following her every rally. So to be expected, no need for cause of concern. Okay. At this point, a lot of what I'm seeing is that um, a lot of the swing states, and mainly in not necessarily in Pennsylvania, but Georgia, Nevada, Arizona, um, those are all it's tightening up between the two parties. Okay. So you have where last week Trump was ahead in Georgia by almost 3 points. It's narrowed down to within like 2 points. So they're pretty much neck and neck. That's basically what that means. Um, I anticipate after the convention, after everything simmers down and people start to do their own research and their own vetting on these people as a whole, Trump as well, and Vance. A lot of people are still learning about Vance. Um, Once people start to wrap their head around what these people are about, what they've done in the past could mean what they want to continue on into the future type of situation. And once we lean into those debates, I think that's really where you're going to see these swing states, because a lot of the other states are pretty much solid at this point. There's maybe two that are kind of leaning towards Trump, but they're not like full red yet. Most of the states have already been predetermined. Right now, once we get towards the end and we get closer and closer to election day, the real focus, as it is in pretty much every election season, is those swing states. So you want to keep an eye on, especially if you are in one of those states, um, really take a look around, talk with your friends. Like we always say, educate yourself. But that's what I'm really seeing right now in terms of polling. There's not a huge shift. It's mainly in those swing states right now.
Right. And that's when I was looking through the poll data, like you were saying, the battleground states have really reconfigured themselves since the announcement being made. And some of the big differences that stood out, I mean, you've got Arizona, which is still good. You've got Georgia that has swung now +2 for Trump when it was roughly 5, +5 just a few days ago. Wisconsin is like 0.02% up from 2.2. Nevada 5.2 down to 4. So there's been a little bit of swing, and that honeymoon period is really a lot of it. You've got a situation where 18 days into the announcement, there has not yet been a press conference.
Absolutely not.
There
From either,
is,
and with Walz as well, he has not made a um, speech or answered any questions from reporters since he accepted the vice presidential nomination.
yeah, he's made a
Pretty
lot of
much.
comments. He's made a lot of jabs. He's taken shots, but he's also dug himself a little hole. And this gets into, and we can talk more about that, but the stolen valor, the statements he's made about Afghanistan, the statements he's made, they're just false. And Vance has called him out on it. The media will
As he
not.
should.
Absolutely. Media will not. But I think the big surprise for me, and Ange, I mean, is Pennsylvania. When going back to the selection, we all thought that she would pull her running mate from Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is
I
still
thought
two
it
and a
was going to
half.
be Shapiro for sure. That's what
Oh,
all of
Shapiro.
that's what
I
the
mean,
data was showing on everything.
yeah, that's where the money was, and there was no other reason. But you have people that are looking at it from the perspective of what made sense, and you've got a major. I mean, what it comes down to, if you look at all the numbers and all the polls that I'm looking at, and I know that you're following through, if Harris doesn't win Pennsylvania, it doesn't happen. So who would have thought in a million years that Shapiro would not have been her choice? Now, there's also other things that go into that. Who has she upset by not choosing Shapiro other than the PA voters? We can get into the the Jewish voters. There's a whole lot of dynamics that go along with that. But that one blew everybody away. And, of course, the Trump campaign came out and said immediately, well, thank you for the gift. Not
Right.
only did you pick the one you should have, you picked the one that you absolutely
nobody saw.
shouldn't have, and you didn't vet him very well.
Mm-mm. Well, from what I understand, up until the last about 45 minutes before the announcement was made public, she still hadn't let them know, like her, like the campaign, anything.
Right.
So they were printing out signs for Shapiro Harris and signs for Walls
Oh, yeah.
Harris at the same time, up until she made the pretty much said, hey, go there, get him on the phone. They didn't know anything. So this was a very last minute decision. And I do want to say this, Dad, the more that I've done digging on the pick, okay, I have a whole page of this man's questionable accolades, to
Yeah.
say the least. But I do want to say this: the more I dove deeper into the comparison of Shapiro versus Walz, I really do feel like he was um, he was too conservative for her. Walz is the guy that she wants, saying he's the yes man. Whatever you want to do, I'm good.
Right.
She
And
doesn't
the
want
way that
somebody
they're
that's going to
portraying
challenge.
him as being a small town, middle America, the guy that he's a slick talker, and he's got the yap going, but there's no substance to it. And the things that the big thing is the baggage he brings along. Again, the vetting
It's
process
astonishing.
is beyond. It makes no sense to me, and I know I'm not the brightest guy on the planet, but I did say to Holiday Inn Express once, so that makes me an expert, I guess, as much of an expert as the people that vetted this guy. But you got somebody who's blatantly lying about his military career against someone who is a war hero, who has been in the conflict, who's been in the trenches.
Mm-hmm.
You have the guy who put tampons in boys' bathrooms in his state when he was governor.
Oh yeah,
Fourth grade
and
boys.
he
That
he's all for the rights of the youth, the trans youth, by hormones, puberty blockers as early as any kid wants to say,
right
and
without
if
the
the
parents'
parents
permission.
right, and if the parents go against it, the state comes in and takes their kid out of their home,
Right.
just like
So
California.
these are all things that I know Kamala has historically stood for. Now we have the new Kamala 2.0, who doesn't stand for any of these things and is trying to get more center of the road and move further to the right to make everybody happy. Because
Right.
as long as she says it, the media will go along with it and back her on it, and then they'll wash out, literally delete all the proof that they think is out there.
And does that sound familiar to you, Dad? When was the last time that happened? World War II. And who was
Right.
behind all of that? The Nazis.
Right.
So it's very scary when you really break it down like that. And
And who
anybody
do
that
they
has
call the
that much
Nazi, right?
power. Right. Oh, Trump's the bad guy. Well, he's out there speaking on what he wants to do to help this country. Meanwhile, she's repeating the same speech in every debate for the last 5 days in multiple states, which has been proven on multiple networks. So it's not just, one network's, splicing all these videos together. Oh, no. The media's there watching her like a hawk. They don't want to talk to her, but they'll watch her. So we have plenty of film. She's regurgitating the same, thing, and Walz is just standing behind her like a yippity puppy that just won the lottery and got to go home. Like it is very scary. And at this point in the election season, you kind of have to like dig your heels in. This is the dig your heels in moment.
Right.
And if you can't get out there and make your position known, it's not even on her website, Dad. I checked.
No.
Nothing.
And if I didn't know any better, and many will disagree with me, it's like this is the sacrificial lamb ticket.
Mm-hmm.
They put her in place. This is the least had approval ratings lowest of any vice president, even lower running against Biden.
Right.
They throw her out there. Of course, now she's the golden girl, the newfound, like she just got rolled off the printing press. Then they bring in this guy who has got his own level of baggage. It's almost to me like they're saying, you know what? We're going to throw this at the wall. We know we're going to get a honeymoon period out of this. Then the convention's going to come along, like we've been saying all along, and there'll be a bump on that. And then the bottom falls out because the first time she gets in front of a mic and word salad comes out, it's over. It's over. Now, and this guy comes out, he's already lying through his teeth and telling falsehoods. And anybody that lies about their military service is nothing but a
They're
POS
a
to me. Absolutely. So this is, we're in the early stages, I think, of an ultimate political implosion that is bound to happen. And then what do? You let the building burn down because you're looking who your heir apparent is in 2028.
Right. And I have my suspicions right now. I think the reason that Shapiro didn't get picked is because he's going to be the new golden boy. And they have 4 years. They have 4 years of him being able to get groomed by the Obamas, the Clintons, Pelosi, Schumer, everybody in that top 10. They've got 4 years to groom him and get him ready.
Right. You bring him out this year, and there's a bloodbath in the polling booth. You just blown your golden boy.
Mm-hmm.
So you're absolutely right. I think that's the only reason I come with you. You throw this up. You see if this POS sticks to the wall, and if it does, and God forbid it does, and they hit a home run on it, they got a winner. If they don't, they've burnt a bullet. No pun intended. They've not hurt themselves because they're ready to roll up their sleeves and go to work 4 years against a brand new candidate.
Right.
So that's only makes sense to me. And the fact that Shapiro hasn't come out, at least I haven't seen anything yet, that he's come out and had any kind of comment.
Well, he was at the rally. He was at the rally when they, brought out Waltz, and, he's pointing at the crowd and waving and, ear to ear smiles like he just won the lottery. It's probably the greatest day of his life. But I mean, he kind of backhandedly, in a way, endorsed Kamala, I guess. I mean, we already know, he's on the train anyway, so full speed ahead.
We know what the plan. We know what the plan is, and we know who's pulling the strings. We know who's running the shop.
Right.
No doubt about that. Hasn't been, and there's nothing has changed now. The White House is getting its marching orders, and it's marching accordingly. And Joe's still in the basement. Kamala's gaslighting everyone. Nothing's really changed, just the names and the faces.
Yeah.
But nothing's changed as far as the modus operandi. Is that how it's said? But that's one thing I would caution. I mean, it's all of these issues still exist, folks. The polls are the polls right now, and I can share this real quick. Real Clear Politics. Again, thank you to them for having this out there. But you can see, the numbers have skewed against, with the exception of Rasmussen and CNBC, to the Harris camp, but by a very small margin. Most margins between 1% and 4%, plus 4, plus 1. I still trust Rasmussen overall more than anybody else.
Right. You kind of expect this. I mean, it's kind of a give and take situation too, because the polls do flop, and she's new to the, to the whole situation still, and she's making herself all wonderful with her suits of glory. Okay, fine. but I know so many people have said it, but it's the truth. If you can't speak on what you're running for, then what are you wasting your time doing? This is not a honeymoon. This is not a vacation. This is not a world tour. You have these you want these people to vote for you realistically, wholeheartedly, then you're going to have to give them something to vote for. And running on the policies of what you know isn't going to work because clearly you're still she's connected to the Biden. She's still the vice president. She's still
Well,
connected
she's
to Biden.
running on his agenda. His
Right.
agenda was her agenda. And let's not forget one other thing, Ange. The polls, people got to remember, the polls are based on public opinion snapshots at that time, and the polls usually line in with what the raw vote counts would be. So what I'm trying to say is, what wins elections is not the raw vote count. What wins elections is 270 electoral votes. The
And if he
polls
wins,
do not
if he
track with
takes
people against that. So if you're looking at the
right,
polls right now, it is a public opinion bump because of, she's like you said, the new face, and it's the people voting in numbers. It's not taking into account the states, the electoral college numbers, and how they add up. And most of the people that I have followed that are running these maps and running these analysis daily and have been doing this for years are still showing a win somewhere between in the 290 and the 310, 320 range on the electoral college,
yeah,
which completely goes adverse to what the polls show.
right.
Now, the polls will start to flip. The numbers are going to start to flip, and they'll probably get worse before they get better for the red team.
It always does, pretty much.
But it is not indicative of. Let's go back to 2016. What were the polls showing?
Trump was down
toast.
in most states.
He was toast. There was no way he was going to win. Hillary was going to walk away with this thing. It was over.
And she
it was over
thought
before
that.
it began. Guess what happened? So
exactly.
Let's
and
not,
I do
folks,
want to say this though too, Dad. They only poll a certain number of people for each poll that they conduct. So they might take 750 out of one poll, and then 300 people for another poll. So it's really not conclusive enough to say, okay, this is representing how, the entire nation feels about this person versus the other person. It's a specific group of these people that they're talking to and asking these questions to. So when you have to take that as part, as one chunk of the broad spectrum of, okay, how are things looking on social media? How are the donations looking? How is everything being received by average Americans that people go up to on the street and ask questions? That's right. You have to take all of that in the bowl together.
That's right. And I just saw that Kamala did field questions today. After 18 days, she was on the tarmac, and she took a few questions and then responded to the media's concerns about not having a press conference, that something would be put together before the end of the month. So, again, not doing anything that would have to put her out in front of the public until she's forced to do so. So it's just, nothing is going to change there, and it's like I said, it's the same story, just a different set of actors. And you're not going to hear too much from Biden. He'll pop his head out of the bunker every once in a while when directed to do so. But with that being said, again, we need to just caution people to not panic by the polls. What's going on in the polls right now has been anticipated. As far
it's
as
absolutely normal
campaign,
for bumps to happen and dips to happen, and depending on what people see that day on television or how a question was answered could change the way that they poll that week. So it really, you're not going to know for sure. You just don't know specifically just by the polls alone. You just, it's not good to just look at the polls and say, okay, well, that's how he's doing shitty, or, she's doing great. Don't just look at that. Really look at the broad spectrum.
Right. And let's get into the true campaign, because you have to realize this campaign just restarted in the last week. So this is a whole new can of worms. It's a whole new house of cards. And as they work their way through the next, what are we at, 95 days now, I believe? Somewhere thereabouts.
Yeah, it's in the 90s.
At this point, we have a whole new campaign. We have debates that have to take place. Nothing has changed from what I can see from the Trump camp. They're still maintaining status quo. They finally have a name to place in their ads. And again, I think it's a very big gift for the Trump campaign, who was chosen. And as he opens his mouth more and more, he being Wetz. Yeah. Get my names up. I got so many pieces of paper around here. I got stuff blowing on all over in front of me. But as more comes out, and as the media is forced to fact check some of this, I think we're going to see a big swing and a big change. But again, pay attention to the numbers that are showing up on these maps. People that know what they're talking about. And there's a number of pages. I can supply those to people. Some of them one of them I've actually got on my on the channel here. And the big picture is not how many raw votes are generated, which is what the polls are really indicative of portraying. Where do the electoral votes go? And that will determine, where this plane lands. So we need to just all take a deep breath, pay attention. Don't take your eye off the prize. Make sure you're talking to everybody you can to vote. Make sure no one stays at home and says, well, they got this covered. Everyone's going to count, because it's going to take numbers to keep, I hate to say it, but to keep a lid on the shenanigans that they're going to try to pull. I'm not worried about Harris. I mean, I know, Benji, you feel the same way. You're not worried about Harris. You're not worried about their ticket. I'm worried about what the shenanigans they'll pull to win. I mean,
and I think when the most dangerous type of person is a desperate person. And when you factor in
power.
Right. When you factor in the desperation of we're in the last days of the election, and they are like, oh no, we're down in the polls. We're down on this. And they're scrambling, and all their advisors and all this stuff. They're all in a room huddled together trying to figure out how to keep a lid on top of it. That's when stuff gets dangerous, because I don't think a lot of people are aware of how powerful and influential these people really are, and how far a favor goes in politics. And when you factor in all of those things, there is nothing that they are not capable of. And it's not to say that the Republicans aren't capable of craziness and shenanigans either, but
politics.
you do not see that as frequent, or if ever, in on the Republican side versus on the Democratic side.
Right. But we have seen what they did in the last election. Now we're starting to hear the stories that are coming out about the lack of integrity in the fake ballots, or the ballots that were destroyed, the ballots that were pretty much bought,
hidden,
and hidden from the president. Biden only won by a small margin that would have been covered fourfold by just what was found, I believe, so far in Georgia.
Yeah, I believe that's where it was too. In a warehouse, they found a bunch. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, that's my big concern. And, again, like you said, this is not just something that is isolated to the Democratic Party. You got to watch everybody. It's just that, as you said, those in power do not want to lose power, and will do what they need to do. And that's why, I push so hard for people to go to protect the vote. ProtectTheVote.com.
Yeah, and Trump did mention that today in his press conference.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah. Let me show
it's
that
worth
page
it's
real quick
worth
there
giving.
while we're talking. But yeah, go ahead, Ange. You there? Did I lose you? Okay, let's go back to this.
Giving a look into
Ange, I
the
cut you off.
process.
I think you lost your audio about 30 seconds ago. So try it again.
Oh, hold on.
No, I got you. I got you now.
You got me?
I got you.
Okay. Um, it's worth going to this website, giving it a top to bottom look over, really seeing before you make a decision. And we're not saying you have to do anything.
Yeah,
What
not
we're
at all.
giving everyone is the option to, if you really feel as strongly as we do, regardless of what side you're on, if you feel strongly and you want a fair and concise election process, this is where you need to go look. Um, Voting is great, and we want everybody to get out there and vote, absolutely. But you also want to make sure that the vote that you cast in November is going to get counted properly, and that your vote really does go the distance to electing who you chose with your vote for the president. And I think that's another way that we can, as Americans, get involved. And anytime you can get involved in your community and educate yourself, I think those are two of the greatest things that America's built on. So absolutely, 100% a fan.
Yeah, so go out and check it out. I mean, the site is here. You can put in your information. You can make a determination if you want to be a poll watcher, if you're interested in being a poll watcher. You can also give information if you become aware of irregularities that someone, meaning your local officials, in some
Mm-hmm.
case, higher up than that, need to get involved in and look things up. Uh, we all are responsible to make sure we can do everything we can, whether you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever you are, that this process stays legitimate and is done correctly. So this is a great site, and I think
Yeah.
it's whether with no doesn't matter what party. This is a site that was set up, of course, as run through the GOP, but that doesn't matter. And I think it would behoove everyone to
Mm-hmm.
go out and check it out and try to at least be part of the cause. And let's try to make this election fair and honest.
Right.
And that's all we'll say
I think
about that.
what we need in America is a dose of integrity. And
Yeah, we've lost a lot of it.
yeah. And I think this is just a small fraction of a way that someone, the average American who is not involved in politics on the daily basis, doesn't have politics in their resume on the career profile, you can also be that voice and hold a sense of integrity for your polling office and your neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that we haven't had in America in a couple election cycles. So it would be really great to see everybody kind of come together on that, regardless of what side you are. We need to come back together as a group,
Right.
no matter what.
This country is, again, I'll speak to something that everybody already knows. I mean, Mr. Obvious here. This country is so divided, and it's imploding before our eyes. And let's decide what's best for the country, not what's best for the party.
Mm-hmm.
And again, what side of the street we fall on. I don't tell anybody not to vote unless you are of the same mindset that we are. That would be wrong. It's not what this
It's
great
not
government
American.
was. Yeah, it's not what this government was set up to be. Uh, go out and make yourself fully understand and appreciate who and what you're voting for. And my position has been the last 3.5 years have been hell. This economy has taken a beating. Recently, we just had a hit in the stock market over 1,000 points, 1,100 points.
Yeah.
The economy is in shambles. Immigration issues are hopefully not beyond repair, but we're being overrun.
It's a
And you
lot.
can't sit back and say that.
There's a war in the Middle East that's about to erupt out of control.
Right.
So
We got what, 3 wars that have broken out in the last 3.5 years around the world. And again, we've always, you don't want to be the world peacekeeper, but that's what the United States has historically always been. Seems like all we know how to do anymore is throw money and take more money out of the taxpayers' pockets and fund proxy wars. And again, I don't know if I agree with if, there's been a lot of comments made about if the election doesn't go the way that we want it to go, my goodness, there's going to be World War III. I certainly have fears of that because of what's heating up in the world right now. I'm not sure I'm ready to make that statement or agree with that statement. I would hope that the people in the world and the people in charge are not that stupid to pull that trigger. But I have to look at, with all that's going on in the world right now, if I want Kamala Harris and her right-hand man there talking to Putin.
that's scary.
And help me, and China Chow Song. Yeah.
I don't.
But
Yeah, I can't.
Getting into debates with
Off
these
the top of
people
my
and
head.
trying to negotiate and keep them from doing something stupid and not forming alliances against, like China and Russia pretty much already have, versus having somebody like Trump who's proven.
Well, she doesn't even want to come out and publicly support Israel.
No, which is another.
So I mean, there's your answer right there, though, Dad.
Absolutely, and that's another reason why I think we can go back to the another point about the choice not being from Pennsylvania.
I did. I'll tell you this. I told my husband, Zach. Well, you know Zach, but not everybody else does. Okay.
Yeah, I've heard about
anyway, I told him the other night, I was like, a lot of people are saying she didn't pick Shapiro because he's Jewish. And that doesn't make sense to them because her husband's Jewish. And I told him, I said, it comes down to one thing and one thing only. It doesn't matter if her husband's Jewish. Her husband is not going to be the vice president of the United States. If anything happens to her, God forbid, and you put a Jewish American as president, not under her watch. So I think that's what it came down to. If that ends up, I mean, we are not for sure that that's the conversation that was being had, or even a situation that was considered. But when you look at it on paper, it makes sense.
It makes sense, and it's a heck of an argument. And the other side of that argument, I think, is that everything that gets done politically is done on a timetable, and it's not Shapiro's time.
No. They're holding him off for 4 more years.
He's that goes for him. That goes for our governor here in Florida, on the other side of the ticket, on the other side of the street. There's a lot of things, because you think about it. No matter who wins, well, not no matter who wins. If she pulls it off, then she's got the chance to rock for another 4 years. God forbid we're around to talk about it. But if Trump, as we expect and as we believe, wins, then they've got everybody's got to have a new corral of horses ready to roll, and I think he's part of that future just as much as our governor is. But we shall see. We shall see.
Right. All to be determined,
but again,
for sure.
You have to look as a voter. You just don't look at your party and say, I'm a D, I'm an R, or I'm an I. You have to look at where you believe we were, where we are, where we're going. If you think that paying, like the people in California, which we can talk about that for hours.
I could talk about that all week.
Oh, my goodness gracious. They had a thing on news the other night. I watched it, and they're paying $12 a dozen for a container of eggs. What were they paying? Something like
oh my God,
$10 or $12 for a tub of butter. Prices out there crazy anyway, because it's California. But
Right. But
you know,
regardless, I mean,
we're all seeing that.
it's still
Uh,
America.
yeah, my wife and I, just the two of us on Social Security, and we spend probably about 40% more on groceries, if not about 50% more on groceries than we did a year ago. That's just from here
Mm-hmm.
to a year ago.
Same.
Uh, not to, I'm not going to sit here and cry the blues. Last
No.
time I went to the store and bought a steak, I'd have to go get a calendar.
Same. I will say this. I had to go to the grocery store earlier today, and I went to Publix. Shout out to Publix. Sponsor us. No, I'm just kidding.
Yep.
Um,
No. Yeah. Please
I
don't
love
feel
your
bad.
cakes. No.
Love your bakery,
um,
guys. Knock it
right.
out of the
Woo.
park.
But I did, you're strolling along and whatever. I get to the meat department, I see, the giant uh roast, like the steak roast,
Hmm.
$37.
Yeah. It's crazy. It, we just
It's
don't.
it's you can't eat, you almost have to be a vegetarian.
Yeah. I mean, thank God the Bidenomics haven't gotten as far as making pork and chicken completely crazy. They're just somewhat crazy.
Yeah,
Uh, I'm a
manageable.
Southern boy, so I have no problem getting a big hunk of pork and throwing it in the smoker, putting it on the grill, and eating off that for a while. Uh, but these prices have gotten insane. Inflation has gotten nuts, and we
Mhm.
are just looking at the economic reports today before I came on the air. We're sizing up here to have a major recession, a full
Right.
blown, God fearing recession. So, you know, hold on to your bootstraps, folks. If you're okay with the way things are now, then go ahead. Roll the dice with these two. If you want to see prices that 4 years from now, maybe you're paying $20 for a dozen eggs, you can't afford to buy any meat, and you're living off lettuce. If you can afford to get it, and you're going to see more and more people and more seniors going to food banks. I guarantee you that. You can
Mhm.
count on it. People who've worked all their lives, are collecting Social Security, trying to just live their lives out, are going to be begging for food. I see
Absolutely.
people
And
in the
that's
grocery
if
stores. Angie, you see it.
I see it, but that's if there's even grocery stores left.
If there's a grocery store to go to.
If I mean, everything trickles down, and when you have 3 or 4 major grocery stores throughout the country that they're tightening the reins, prices are going up, nobody's going to shop there. Okay, well, guess what, we've already seen it happening in rural states, um, in the
Mm-hmm.
Midwest, here in the South. People are growing their own food. They're getting chickens, they're growing the gardens, they're cultivating their own little property land, because guess what, it's cheaper to go buy strawberry seeds than it is to go buy $12 worth of strawberries at the store that'll last you 3 days before they go bad because they're full of pesticides and god only knows what
Mm-hmm.
else. So it trickles down to the sense that you're right, Dad. Seniors are going to struggle. A lot of different categories of families are going to struggle. You think single mothers, single fathers, um, teachers, schools are going to suffer. They're not going to be able to afford these lunches for kids, and it is a huge trickling system. And
Right.
if you think for 1 second that it's not going to reach you, you are absolutely out of your
No.
mind. And the only people who are not concerned about it are the Kamala Harrises and the Tim Waltzes and everybody else who
Well,
are
and the billionaires and
full of
millionaires. I
money.
mean,
Right,
if you got a bunch of money in the bank, you're not worried about whether eggs are $20 a
right.
dozen.
You don't care.
You don't give a crap about none of that. You're probably not. You probably don't eat at home anyway. But when your budget says you got $100 to spend, and you walk in the grocery store, and $100 gets you half of what it used to,
Right.
well,
It's not
it's
as
gonna
fun
it's
anymore.
so again, it comes back to you have to vote with your wallet and with your pocketbook. Go out, do the work. Doesn't take anything for somebody to look back 6 months, 12 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, and say, this is what I used to spend on groceries, and this is what I
Right?
spend
Look
now.
back at your tax returns from 3 years ago, 4 years ago versus
Mm-hmm.
now. And I guarantee you're going to see it on that as well. People are paying more in, the tax brackets have changed, Social Security's coming out more.
Well,
And
and guess
then
what?
we're going to, if they want to put all these illegal immigrants who are coming into the United States, like Walt has already said, he wants to give them everything under the sun and more.
Oh yeah,
That's going
put
to
them on
come
Social
from
Security.
taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out ways to tax Social Security and everything else, and well, we already
Right.
tax it, but
More.
let's just give it to people who aren't even citizens of the country. But we'll take a chance that when our citizens that are relying on Social Security need it, that
Right.
it may fail
It's not
because
available.
it's not available because we've given it away. That's one thing Trump has said. One of his key points is that he wants to, and they have guaranteed to some as much as they can guarantee anything, that Social Security will not be taxed, and they shouldn't be taxed. This is
No, these
money,
people.
from my
This
personal
is a
perspective. I've been
right.
working since I was a kid, and I'm pushing mid 60s now. All that money, what little bit I'm getting back, I've paid in towards the fund, and
And
I
then
paid my
some.
taxes. Oh, and you never get back what you pay in. You can forget that.
Oh,
It doesn't
never.
work that way.
It's been
But
gone the second they hit their account.
but to come back to me and say, if I go to work and make a few dollars, that I got to, hit a certain limit, I got to give half of it back to the government, and I've got to pay income tax on top of the funds that I've already paid tax on when I paid it into the system. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that's one of the things that they're trying to stop. Also, the Trump tax cuts are getting ready to expire, and they're being that party are talking about letting them expire, not renewing them, letting them expire. You're going to see your taxes go up significantly. Now, if you're okay with that,
With nothing to show for it.
yeah. But if you're okay with it, then go ahead and vote. Use your vote that way. Look at both sides. And everybody can say whatever they want to say. I think you agree with that, Ange. I mean, a politician will say what a politician has to say, irrespective of what party they're in. At the
Right.
end of the day, where has the party been? Where has the administration been? And where has the administration put us that currently is sitting there? And can you stand another 4 years of it? Personally, I don't think this economy can stand 4 more years of Bidenomics, which is now Harrisomics. Is that what they're calling it? Kamala Omics.
I don't think she has she has a clue at least where she is. She can walk up steps. Congratulations,
She
give her
cackles really
the
good.
plaque. The cackle is just perfection. She has perfected it over the last, decade. But there's no substance. There's just no substance.
There's nobody
And
home.
really, we're not going to know, right? We're knocking on the door and she's down the street and around the corner. But um I'm really looking forward to the debate against, Trump and Harris. That's a no-brainer.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
what I'm
That's a popcorn event.
really right, oh, but this is the wings and pizza event that I'm looking forward to is the Vance Walls debate that is going to be so explosive because Walls is one of those. Okay, now I'll admit, prior to yesterday, really, I didn't really know
Right.
who this guy was until they started talking about the riots after the George Floyd um, death and all of that had transpired.
Right.
That's when the bell clicked. Now, I will say that I noticed he's a yeller and a big boisterous voice. He used to be a teacher. He's got the teacher voice. Okay, well, you know what? I have the mom voice. I can get really loud too when I want to. I can get loud
Oh,
just for no reason.
I
But if
can.
you don't, right, if the words that are coming out are, well, it's okay to be socialist, and that's just being neighborly. Or
Seriously.
the fact that he has openly said to the press before that he is absolutely okay with abortion up to the date of, delivery. Um, that's a little shocking. I think a lot of Christians would feel like that, and, other religions as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the things that he's talking about, the things that he wants to accomplish, the things that he's done to his own state, you have to look at the facts because they're not going to talk about that. They're going
No.
to talk themselves up to be the best thing that they're ever, came into politics.
Well, that's what politicians do. You're never going to hear
Right.
the downside. You're always going to hear what they've, and in
The
her case,
greatest
what they're
of,
reinventing her to be. But
right.
no, they're not going to hear anything about the riots. And he refused to bring out the National Guard because he
National
said, "Why
Guard.
bother? They're a bunch of 19-year-old cooks."
Mm-hmm.
You don't
While
need that.
small
We'll just let it.
businesses were burning to the ground. These people
Mm-hmm.
lost their livelihoods, their savings,
Yeah.
their way of life, a way to feed their family. And he's just like, and then to, it was reported and later proven, they did the fact check, it was correct, that his wife supposedly opened the windows to smell the burning outside from all the riots going on, and it was filtering into their area. And like, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
I heard that, Dad, and I was like, this isn't just politics anymore. This is like, you're
No,
not okay.
intentionally destroying whatever they have control over, whatever they have domicile over.
Right. And as long
And
as
these
it
are
doesn't affect them, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, these are people who disrespect the military. They disrespect law enforcement. They want to defund law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
This guy, I think a lot of our military and what these men and women have done for this country. And he's disrespecting by claiming he's something he wasn't, that he fought,
Right.
that he didn't do any of these things yet, and thinking that he's not going to get caught. So that's when I got back to my original thought about vetting. They they couldn't have done any good job unless the good job was to pick a candidate which was going to help the ticket implode on itself.
Right.
But I
Well,
just
it's
have
like
something that I
that
want to show
chart.
real quick. When we were talking about
It's,
everybody is impacted. Here's a little. This is not a quote from Kamala, but it might as well be.
yes, absolutely.
So just remember,
And some
folks.
people, some Americans right now have had to drain their 401k due to hardship. And, unfortunately, they're going to get taxed on that come tax time. But it's like, what do? You got to
You have
feed
no
your
choice.
kids. You got to put a roof over your head. You got bills that are coming no matter what is happening. And you
The
got to make
mortgage
it do.
company
But
doesn't care you're in a bad place. The credit
no,
card companies don't care you're in a bad place. Nobody cares you are in a bad place except for you.
right.
So what they do on Capitol Hill doesn't affect them. These are people that, as you said, Ange, their sole justification for everything and anything and everything they do is to stay in power.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever they step on, whoever they destroy, it doesn't matter as long as they get the number of votes they need to stay in power. And
Right.
I don't think that's going to be the big issue this year. I think there's going to be, I believe, this is just a feeling on my part, I believe that there's a lot of people that are going to show up at the ballot box and are not going to vote the way they told the pollsters they were going to vote. Because if you take a good, hard look at yourself and at your family and at what you got going on, and you believe that it's going to get better by
It's
making that
not.
choice, then you deserve what you get. But then, unfortunately, you're dragging the rest of us along for the ride. But there's going to be a lot of people I think
Right.
they're going to show at the polls, and you can tell people anything you want. You can tell people. I remember back during the first Clinton election. I mean, he was going to lose that thing. He was going to bomb. It was horrible. I don't think that you could shake a stick and hit two people that voted for Clinton. Yet he resoundingly beat Bush.
Yeah.
So that happens.
I think a lot of people had a bad taste in their mouth at the time about like the military and what Bush was doing overseas, and like there was a lot of other factors.
There was a lot of
I'll
things
agree.
involved. I mean, he sunk his boat when he said no new taxes. Read my lips, no new taxes. That was
Hmm.
boom, and then raised
That was
the
bad.
taxes.
You
So
don't,
it's like
and that's the thing. You don't want to make promises, even on the campaign trail, that you can't keep. You don't want to write a check you can't cash.
Because
And right
Clinton did the
now,
same thing. He said things that he couldn't get done, but he was slick
and
Willie.
lied about a lot.
Lied about a lot of things, and continued to lie about a lot of things. Like I said, politicians are politicians are politicians.
Right.
You just got to weed through it, and hopefully pick someone who's at least going to do some of the things that they promised that will help trickle down and help us. And that's all we can hope for at the end of the day. And you're not going to get that, I think, on the other side of this equation.
No, I don't think so either. I think, I really honestly, Dad, I don't think she has a plan after the honeymoon phase. That's the vibe. I hate to even use that word, but that's like the feeling that I'm getting from this whole entire situation. And what I've noticed about, Trump and Vance, whether they're debating collectively as a unit or separately in different states, or one is taking questions on an airplane and the other one's making a huge giant press conference with half of America's journalists, they are on the same page and they're calm, concise, and straight to the facts. So if she wants to have any dogfight in this, she's gonna have to cough up what she wants to do, and she's gonna have to make herself vulnerable and available 24 hours a day. Get up at 2 in the morning and call a press conference. How many people do you think would get up out of bed and go to that press conference if it was her wanting to talk to them about policy? They're dying to hear it. People are asking for the answer.
It's called a platform, and they don't have a platform.
Right.
The Republicans prior to the convention and right now have 10 items, 10 bullet points. This is what we stand for. This is what we want to do. There's no platform on the Democratic side. And even if there was a platform and something they could hang their hat on other than wanting to, reverse Roe versus Wade, and making sure that men can fight women.
All the stuff that they've already done that they've proven is a problem. But they're
doing.
Right.
But if they had something, they haven't taken the time to even talk about it. And
if they wait too much longer,
what's that? Go ahead, Ange.
If they wait too much longer, you're gonna then, if she wins, okay, say this whole next couple of months, Dad, just speculation, okay, she doesn't really go for the gusto on terms of policy. She doesn't have an action plan. There's no concise, anything of what she believes in, and she wins by some miracle, okay? She gets in the White House and then nothing happens. Guess what? Now everybody is going to go back and they're going to be like, well, you didn't give them the tough questions. You didn't ask them why they want to do this or why they want to do that. And these people, it proves that the Democratic Party and its followers, whether, if you are voting, if she doesn't give you any substance and you end up voting her in anyway, it proves that you are literally voting for her because of she's, her race, her ethnicity, her sex, whatever you want to call it. You're going on looks, not substance. And it just proves it at that point.
Right. And that's what everybody says they're not doing. We're not voting because she's a black woman or an Indian woman or whatever nationality she is this week.
I hope people don't. I hope people educate themselves. Like, truly, I really do.
I hope people are smarter than that. But the problem is with the Trump deal is that people have become anti-Trumpers. They have not become anti-Republicans. They have not become pro-Democrats or pro-Kamala. They've become anti-Donald. And they've been fed this line by the opposing party and the powers to be, that he's the second coming, the next Antichrist, the second coming of the devil himself incarnate. And everyone has stopped looking at the facts. Let's look at what he did. Did he do everything right? No.
No.
Did
he
piss off the world in his tweeting? Sure he did. I kind of missed that, though. I do.
Tweets. I missed that, too. They
really
were good. There's some juicy ones.
He had some good ones. When Donald woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning, don't let him near his cell phone. Boy, something's about to come flying at you.
Lock it up. He's about to. He had a nightmare, and there's no one safe.
Yep. Look, dodge for cover. But you know what? Don't just look at all the things some of the things that he said and the things that didn't happen. Let's look at what we got out of it. And if you compare
Right.
head to head, one side to the other, the 2016 to 2020 administration and 2020 through now, it's night and day, and the country's gone economically and immigration wise and a bunch of other things, and just our stature in the world has gone down the
Right.
toilet, and we need to recover that as quickly as possible before we can't recover it anymore. Now, I don't know if this will be, as some have said, will this be the last election if we don't, and all those kinds of. I don't know. I'm not at that point yet.
I don't I don't think it's going to be like civil unrest or anything, but I think you're going to have a lot of angry people for
There's
sure. I
going to
mean,
be a lot. There's going to be about you figure about 150, 170 million people in this country are not democratic, or not. I'm
right?
sorry, not are democratic, but are not Democrats. And yeah, you don't have half the country potentially having
Just like,
elections
oh
stolen
well,
and be
you
okay
know,
with it.
we'll try next time. No, like you know, Pete, the whole reason to talk to you guys in these episodes is so that you're aware of what's going on and that you're involved. And it is important to get involved when so much is at stake, not just
Absolutely.
within the United States or your own state or your own neighborhood or what happens in your school that your kid attends or the fact, what you're making hourly versus how much your rent went up last year. It's not just about that. It's all around the world, like you said. Um, our track record isn't looking too pretty right now. We don't have a backbone in the White House at all. I mean, we have a backbone, but he's like a corpse more
Well,
more than like a functioning, working adult.
it's like you
Um,
it's like you
we
call him
need
the cadaver in chief.
right. We need somebody who is going to one. Okay, I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it. One, you got to have a pair of balls. I don't care who you are, whatever, in the sense of you're going to like be a badass and go out there and handle your business. You got to have a pair of balls. You can't stand down to what you want and what is going to happen. There is going to be someone out there who does not like what you have to say. That just goes along with just life in general. Okay, so you got to get past that.
Nobody likes everybody.
Right. And you have to be able to back your shit up, for the lack of a better term. If you do something and it fails, okay, own up to the failure and say, look, we're going to regroup. I'm going to get my advisors together. We're going to come at this again. It's going to be bigger and it's going to be better, and we're going to make it happen. If you promise something to the American people, you better be damn sure that you can follow through. And this is one of those
Or at
elections
least
where,
try.
right, at least make the attempt and
At least
own
try.
up to your successes as well as those failures. And I don't see her owning up to anything. She's
Yeah.
brushing off, everything that's being thrown at her. And it really is sad that I wish she took it more seriously, I guess is what I'm trying to get at.
Well, I think she's paying way too much attention to these polls that are showing where she stands right now,
Hmm. And that's what
and
happened
she's
with Hillary. She
right.
she started the celebration 2 months before the election happened.
Yep. So you gotta take this with a grain of salt. This is a condensed election season because of the goings on and what's happened with Biden. I almost said when Biden decided to leave or not to run, but we know Biden did
Mm.
not decide not to run. He got the
Oh
word.
yeah,
Um,
he got the
the fix
threat
was
the
in.
threat of
The
a
coup was
lifetime.
in. So
Hmm.
with all that's gone on, it is really condensed the cycle. So a lot has to happen in a short period of time, and we don't have time for another 8 or 9 months of political antics, and that goes
Right.
for both sides. Uh, let's put out what you think where we are, what we're going to do, and what you're going to accomplish, and that means debate it. That means put it out in the media, put out your talking statements, your talking points, and let the American people have a chance to digest what you stand for, good or bad. And that's
Right.
where the Harris camp has so far uh, really missed the boat. They have had the last 18 days or whatever
Almost
it is.
three
I said
weeks. Yeah.
almost 3 weeks here that they've been riding a high that they could have been using that to bring some of these points and some of their plans and their talking points to the public, and really got some mileage, and they just missed the boat. All she did, essentially, is just give fodder and give ammunition to have the Republicans dog her down with
Just
the reality of what she's all about.
hmm
And
right.
again, reinventing someone doesn't make them a new person. So we hope that the mainstream media really thinks hard about this and puts the truth out there. They're going to get fact checked, and they're going to get busted for really not telling the truth about who she is, what she stands for, and where she came from. And as soon or as she is going to be held responsible for covering up for the unfortunate situation surrounding President Biden, knowing about it and not disclosing it and not doing anything about it, I think the media will be held equally in contempt and equally responsible for not
And they should.
allowing the truth to come out about the reimagined Kamala version 2.0. And unfortunately, when all that happens, it would be too late. And you don't
Absolutely.
close the barn door after the horse already gotten out. And that's why we say, guys, you got to think, you got to do your homework, you got to vote, you got to go to this website, make sure that we protect the vote. What it comes down to, we got to vote. We have to get large numbers out just to be able to get ahead of the potential fraud that'll be out there. And
Right.
we hope that won't be needed, but I think most of us are, we're all smarter than that. And you've got to outvote the fraud. It's as simple as it
Absolutely.
gets. So go out there and check that out. Go to Protect the Vote. Again, we keep hawking this like like we're getting a paycheck, and we're not. But I just do believe in what they are trying to do to help the cause leading into this election, and one of, if not the most important elections
Ever.
and certainly in my lifetime. And I'm
Oh,
I'm
and
no
mine
kid.
for sure.
Absolutely. So with that being said, we ran a little bit over tonight, but we also started a little bit late, so that kind of works out, doesn't it?
Okay.
About the same. But we really enjoyed doing this, guys, for you. Again, we don't. The live is seen, but we also pick up a lot of viewership on the replays, and we appreciate that. We're trying to run 1 or 2 episodes a week. There's enough going on in the world right now on a daily basis.
We
I
could
think,
do
Ange,
3
we could run one
episodes a
every
day
day.
and it wouldn't cover it all.
Well,
Yeah.
we could make it like in the old days with the newspaper. We could have a morning and afternoon and evening edition.
Breaking news, I mean,
Well,
it's
and you
like
know
that.
what? That's as we get closer to the election, and I was going
It's
to
going to
mention this,
be,
but I'm trying not to be a tin foil cap kind of guy. But as we get close to the election, and I think things start to happen, it's just going to pick
you
the
might
words
see us a
carefully.
little bit more.
You might, yeah. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah.
We're not saying that things are going to happen or that October surprises or anything like that, but we can be here when we need to be here.
Right.
I've got a obligation that I go to a few days a week, and other than that, we can be here. And it takes Angie and I about 5 minutes to put it all together, load up the machines, and go. So we're going to be here to feed
Oh,
you
yeah.
this information. We hope you enjoy spending time with us. We love spending time with you guys. Again, we're not monetized. We do this because we enjoy it, and we're probably a little bit crazy.
That's subjective, but
Oh,
we love America, and that's what's important.
that is the reason. I joke, but that's what it comes down to. We need to get this country, or at least be a part of helping this country get back to what it used to be. And if you want to call that making America great again, good for you.
So be it.
So be it. But we thank you all for coming out.
Yes, thank
Again, we're
you.
running a little bit over tonight. We try to keep these around an hour or so, but lots of goings on. I think we're going to be trying to load up the next episode either Saturday or Monday, I believe, right?
Yeah.
That's what I think our timetable shows. We're trying to spread it out enough that we're not overwhelming everybody, but you're getting what you need to know, and as quickly as we can get it to you. We're not a national news outlet that's on 24/7. So with that, y'all need to keep your eyes open, watch those polls, don't lose your minds. It is what it is today, and it will not be what it is tomorrow. Oh my God, it's starting to sound like somebody. I can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I can't. This hurts my head.
Don't
Too
don't
old
be
for this stuff.
unburdened, Dad,
I don't
by
want to.
what has
I'm going
been.
to be unburdened by those things that I have not burdened myself with, and
I think she's a burden, but I mean, it is what it is.
She needs to unburden herself, or she
We
needs to
need to get
unburden us from her.
unburdened. Right.
We all got to get unburdened.
Whew,
But
I don't know.
with that, guys, that was enough. That was enough. We're done. So you guys have a good evening. Thanks again to our subscribers. If you're not a subscriber, we'd love to have you join the team. Be part of the family. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notify button so you'll be notified when we put a new video up. We want to thank, my goodness, want to thank Protect the Vote for being out there. I want to thank, we were able to, I had a listing of everybody, but I know I'll miss somebody. But again, we've referred a number of times to Real Clear Polling and Real Clear Politics. They do a great job, and I thank them for being out there where we can look at their numbers and try to report a little bit. And we just thank, like I said, we thank everybody.
Yes.
Angie,
thank you guys so much. If you are watching from, the other side of the world and you love it, hit that subscribe button, give us a like. Let us know in the comments what was your favorite part about the video. Maybe anything you want us to elaborate on, we can do that. And just for everybody here in the States, thank you for following along. And if you feel like America is just as important to you as it is to us, absolutely hit that subscribe button. We're here for everybody. We want everybody to be informed, be educated, and have the best experience that they can going forward, especially if you're a first-time voter. So thank you so much.
That's right. Thank you so much. And smash that like button.
Yeah.
That like button really helps a lot. You can't even imagine. So if you can do those things to help us grow and get the word out there a little bit more as we get closer and closer to November, we would appreciate it. We are going to try to be a big part of this entire process leading right up to the big game. We want you all to be part of that game and get out there and vote, get out there, be educated, and get out there and make sure that we keep this as clean of an election as we possibly can across the board. With that said, Ange, we're going to call it a night.
All right.
So have a good evening, everybody. And that is it for Episode 7. Episode 8 will be back. We'll be rerunning 7 as soon as we sign off here. It'll be going into the archive so you can watch that at your leisure. Until the next time, I want to say good night and God bless America.
God bless America.
We'll see you soon.
See you guys next time.